Episode number 3. First episode was our neighborhood. Got Bobby Douglas Jones back with me.
Man, I'm having fun with this
Man,
stuff.
they calling you A. McMahon. I'm getting teased.
They are.
Where's that? Is that McMahon?
Here's Bobby.
There you go. And then we went to Christian Park in episode 2. And then today we're going to kind of grow up a little bit and kind of touch base, but not limit, to high school. And a lot of people that know me and you know that I went ahead and went to Tech, and you went to Hal.
Correct.
And I can honestly say, I was thinking on the way in here today, even when I graduated Tech after 4 years later, I could still say, and even now today I can say, I knew just as many people at Hal as I did at Tech. I knew quite a few people at Tech. I'm outgoing, everybody knows that. But I remember when you first went to Hal, I'm like, man, when Doug's at Hal now. And then new guys started coming in that you was talking a lot about. We got 2 of them here, and I thought, man, I'm losing Doug as my buddy and everything. And actually, I gained 2 more really good friends that were good friends to you. Probably as good of friends as you had at Hal.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yes.
And the first one here is to my right here, Mikey Victoria.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
Not a problem, man. I'm glad you're here. I really am, and I just got the utmost respect for you. And then the other is I've always talked highly of him, smooth, and me and him got a lot in common. I love to watch Boyd play ball. Even when I was playing against him, I'm like, how do you do that? But Boyd Minton.
Thanks for having me, too.
Man, I'm glad you guys are here. We're like Doug was saying earlier when we was outside there. We're not going to limit it just to high school, but we're just going to open up conversation and just talk and have a good time here. But like I said, I appreciate you being here and looking forward to this conversation and podcast. Doug, what you got? What you think, man?
Well, I'm looking around and it feels like a retirement committee here. I'm looking around right now trying to figure out nobody's working, right?
That's the way I like it.
Right. I know I'm
still
settled
working
into it.
some. You might see this scrape on my nose. I did a little fall off of a bench. I was painting some cabinets and forgot to lock the legs on one side, and I slid down and I hit my face with I think my sprayer gun. I'm not really sure. And thank God there was a granite countertop that broke my fall, and I still got some sore ribs from that. But not totally retired, but
I feel
retired
you,
from the
boy.
fire department. Yeah.
I feel you because I used to walk rough, steep.
Oh, yeah.
My parents come home, I was sitting on the peak of my house. My mom's just looking at me like, you're crazy. And now when I get on heights or something like that, I start getting wobbly, and I'm like, ooh. I can't do this like I used to. Because Doug, where were we? Out by Yellowstone at the Underground River.
Yes.
And I was out on this little rock, just sitting out here, thinking I'm cool, hanging out, watching this river flow. He just looks over at me and shakes his head. You're crazy.
Yeah, I had a hard time just getting to the edge where there was plenty of ground. You know what I mean? Like I'm standing on plenty of ground and I'm like doing like this, and Mike is literally out on a ledge that's probably not more than 2 feet wide. His back against.
That sounds like Mike.
And I'm like going, man, I'd fall just from being scared. I would have just fell. But
So, just something that just hit me. I'm kind of curious about these 2 guys when you first got to Hal. Who was the first one you met?
man, that's a good question. You know what? I would have a hard time. I don't know. I know I
It's hard
met
to
Mike
remember
in the
back that
lunchroom. And
Yeah, lunchroom with me too. I
yeah.
believe.
So, but to say who I met the first, I would have a hard time
Probably
putting my finger
pretty
on
close.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they both graduated with you. Same year.
Especially, I think by the time I met him, I was probably either I was a sophomore or just turned to a junior where I had my car.
So all of you.
So I had travel. I could get
I'm
out
young.
of our neighborhood.
You're 81.
Right.
So you 2 are 80.
Right.
Along with Casey Branham. He wanted to make sure I got him in there today.
Yeah. Oh, he wanted to
Oh,
plug.
I said, give me a plug. I said, Casey, I got you.
Gotta
Whatever,
love that.
Casey. Talking crap last week. He was wearing his sister's pants at that.
Yeah, he did talk.
Yeah.
Oh.
That ain't
You
right.
know,
is
I
it?
plug you. I said, yeah.
You didn't want to plug like that, did you, Blair?
No, not really.
Oh, man.
Don't be hating. Just brush him
I
off.
remember when you first started driving. you had that Nova.
Oh yeah, 70 no.
Remember we went out to Washington Square?
Yeah.
They had people everywhere. They had a little fender bender.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I went, oh shit. Here we go.
Here we go.
You got to call your dad.
Yep.
He's actually really cool about it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he actually. I wouldn't say he was understanding, but yeah, he was pretty.
He
cool
wasn't
about
ranting
it.
and raving or nothing.
No. Well, he didn't mind because it was my money.
That's
Yeah, I
what
would at that point. I wasn't spending his money no more.
That's what
So
I was
he
gonna
really
say.
he was pretty good with anything that happened. You know, what I mean? As long as you can afford it.
If I know Mr. Jones, that's what I was thinking. He didn't care because, hey, we got jobs to do
Oh, yeah.
Saturday. You gonna be
Right.
there?
Did all of you work for A&J at one
yeah.
time at least?
Oh yeah. One point
Everybody
or
in there
another.
worked for A&J at one point.
A&J moving, baby.
Unbelievable.
Well,
I remember
if
moving
we hung out with you
Piano.
on a Friday, we had to
Had to work on
for
Saturday.
A&J on
Boy,
Saturday.
you actually moved to piano.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Piano.
got out of that. Thank
There was-
God.
Was it a couch or something that we lowered over a loft
Over
or
the
something?
loft, yeah.
I think we were down below to catch it.
To set it. But that, Mike was with me when we moved a huge ass
We
fish
moved
tank.
a 50-gallon fish tank, and they didn't drain it all, and they had rocks in the bottom.
Right.
And we were 2 stories up or 3
yeah.
stories up. So we move it. Got it in the truck, put a fridge by it, and so I'm riding in the back, making sure everything's settled. And all of a sudden, he hits the brakes. Pop! That thing hit that glass fish tank. It didn't break it. So I sat in between the refrigerator and the fish tank the rest of the trip.
My best move story. This just reminded me of something else. Remember when Susan Foz and I would call Doug up, tell him need a move job.
And that would be early in the morning. That was back when I was out of moving, but we had told all these stories. And she'd call me at 8 in the morning. And I used to tell her, move her ass down the road.
So my best move job story is me and Doug's getting a little bit older. We're probably right out of high school or getting ready to graduate, and we went to a party. Ted and Greg always had parties over at Brookside Park area.
yeah.
So we get there early, and we end up getting. He told Greg. They told him don't have a party. Well, we didn't know that. So we skipped the game, go on to the party, and we end up having to go to jail for common nuisance, being there. So Mary and Dad's out of town. So Mary and Bob's our last resort, and Doug's lining everything up. And we're sitting there. All of a sudden, Dad's out of town, like I said, and I get called out of the jail before he does. Take it from there, Doug.
Well, at that point, before that, I had called my dad and told him, hey, me and Bobby got picked up at a party. We ain't done nothing wrong. Can you come and get us, bail us out, right? He asked me, it's 10 o'clock at night. We got to be up at 4 in the morning. He said, are you going to work tomorrow? I said, player, I'm not sure. He said, okay. He said, what about Bobby? So I looked back at Bobby. I said, hey, Bobby, I said, my dad wants to know if you'll work tomorrow. Bobby says, absolutely. I said, yeah, Bobby's
out?
in. Bobby's in. He said, okay. So, it takes a while to get you out, right? So it's a couple hours later. We're sitting in this little cell. And next thing I know, I hear this guy comes up, and he's got a list, and he says a couple names. And he says, Bobby Haney. So Bobby gets up. Well, hell, I get up. I go walking toward the door, and I'm waiting. Door shuts, and everybody leaves. And I'm like, well, that was kind of weird. I said, all right, I'm getting ready to get up out of here. Hour and a half later, I get my name called. So I go through the process. I walk out the front door of the city county building, and there's my mom. And I said, I looked at her and I said, hell, Bobby's been gone for almost 2 hours. She said, yeah. She said, your dad came down and got him out because he was going to work.
Right.
He sent me down here to get you out because you weren't sure. I said, that's a bad dude right there.
That sounds like your dad.
Yeah, he made points.
Oh, shit.
Boyd, I know, man, I remember when Doug first introduced you to me, and he said, well, let's go over to my friend's house, and he lives in this neighborhood not too far from us. He goes, let's go check it out. He goes, they got a basketball court over there. I said, okay, cool. So let's go over there.
Joe and Eric Sharon's.
Oh, yeah.
Or Fosnot had one too, but not as nice.
And
as
that's
Joe.
where I first met Jeff, too, and I'm like, who's this little dude? He was badass. I mean, he could play some ball.
Yes.
And Boyd, not trying to start any problems here or nothing, but I could tell Boyd had been spending a lot of time with Jeff. I mean, Jeff had raw talent, obviously, but
Right.
But we used to get on him when he first started playing. He was younger than us, and he would like look at you for like 5 seconds and then try to throw a pass, and we'd steal it. I'm like, Jeff, you can't look at somebody that long and throw
can't
a pass.
telegraph.
No.
And then he started when he was like 7, started doing like no look passes.
Right.
Like he wouldn't be, he'd be looking over at Mike, and
He was mimicking you
I'm like,
Right.
wow,
Right.
because you did some stuff. I'm still like,
yeah, he did stuff too that was
yeah,
like
yeah.
incredible.
And then Chris Eastep would come down and play with us older guys.
So that's self check. That was his.
But what an athlete.
Oh, but he couldn't play basketball.
No,
He-
basketball was not his
any
sport.
other sport.
No
he
basketball.
He was
Fine.
incredible. Football,
Baseball.
football, baseball, best you ever seen. Come to basketball, he was like a bricklayer.
He wasn't the
we
first
called
one
him.
picked.
We called him self check. You didn't need to guard him. Just
You know,
get
Eric
the
Sharon
ball.
was pretty good.
That was
Oh,
how
Eric
I
Sharon
got
was really good.
Yep.
Charlie Ewells used to play over there.
Play over there.
Charlie
Play
was
good.
really. Charlie
Yeah.
and I used to team up against Jeff and like Fred Need or Paul Smith or
Yeah.
whatever, and we'd have epic battles there.
And one
Try
thing
to-
that with Jeff Fosnot, he was probably what do you say Jeff was 5, 6 years younger than us?
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
about
five.
12 when we was 17, 18.
Yeah, so he's 5 or
He
6
was
years.
about that.
And I tell you right now, we never took it easy on him. When you showed up to play hoops at Joe Sharon's house, we didn't care if you was 13 or 21. We're here to play ball.
Yeah,
Don't put it up weak, player, because I'm smacking it.
yeah.
And then I remember,
But that made Jeff so much better, right? Because by the time he got to the point where his skill level at 18 and mine at 23, he had passed me.
yep.
He had gotten way better than I was, right?
And-
But that
and-
part of that was because we never took it easy on him.
And then you try to get a layup or something. Then Eric Sharon there, about 6'2", 6'3", with the wingspan, he would send it over the garage next door.
Who else grew up in that neighborhood? I
There
know
was
you
a
guys
couple
introduced me to Lisa Sheets. I said, "Ooh,
There's a couple guys that do a lot of sports, but they were incredible, like sprinter. Like I don't know if you ever met Randy. Remember Randy Paget?
Yeah.
Long
Yeah.
hair, always wore a headband. Russell Rainey.
Yep.
Both of them.
Tony Whitley.
Tony Whitley.
man, he
They're-
was an athlete, wasn't he?"
Yeah, they were
He
all
was.
in my neighborhood. I remember Joe Sharon and I were pretty close in ability on speed, and we decided to race. Joe, was me, Tony, Randy Paget, and Russell Rainey. We're gonna run the block. I think we're probably 15, 16, somewhere in that age. And Joe and I were sub 5 second 40, not super fast, maybe 5'8", 5'9", or 4'8", or somewhere around there.
Okay.
Well, anyway, we take off running. Joe and I are neck and neck, and all three of them just start pulling away. By the time we get to the end, Joe and I are neck and neck. I'm not sure if I beat him, he beat me. And then next up was Tony Whitley, was about 10 feet in front of us. And then about 10 feet in front of him was Russell Rainey. And then another 10 feet was Randy Paget.
You guys
One
were
of the
loaded.
fastest sprinters I've ever seen. I don't know if he ever got timed in a 40.
Now, I
but
remember
it was
back,
incredible speed.
there was a summer there when I got to start really getting to know you. You played football, and Sharon, who you
Yeah.
just talking about, was quarterback.
Yep.
And you go out and work out with him. Now, I know you played middle linebacker for Hal.
I played running back too.
Okay, I didn't know if
was
you was a
both.
receiver for him because I know you put a lot of work in to help him.
Oh yeah, we used to go before school in the winter, and I mean I'm talking 6 a.m. and go to
I remember that.
to the wood and floor gym, and we'd throw passes.
Girls' gym.
Yeah, and
Now, Mikey,
Tim-
go ahead.
Tim Schuster would show up there too sometimes, and we'd have contests trying to catch the ball, and Joe he could throw freaking bullets.
Yeah, he just
fly.
played
Now,
quarter. He
he
didn't
had-
play defense, obviously, probably not.
No, he got hurt his senior year, which sucked because Joe, great guy, worked his butt off, and then he got injured, and that's when remember Vince Lavelle?
Yeah.
He took over as a
remember that
sophomore and he was a really good quarterback, really good young guy that had a lot of talent. But Joe worked I was so upset for Joe because he worked so hard, and then he
What
hurt
happened,
his,
knee
he hurt
or-
his shoulder.
Shoulder.
Yeah, his shoulders, like if you look at him when he didn't have a shirt on, his right shoulder was like 30% bigger.
Yeah,
than
just
his
out of
left.
curiosity, where'd you rank on the team as far as tackles? Number one?
I was actually my senior year. I was number 2, but I missed 2 games.
Really?
Ted Wadsworth beat me by 1.
Ted was a good basketball player.
Yeah, I love to hit. I mean, my favorite running back was okay, but I wasn't a great running back. I didn't have the speed or anything. But linebacker, I had good speed for a linebacker. I wasn't very big, but I tried to hit somebody as hard as I could. And
Yep.
most of the time, I
Now,
injured
Mikey,
myself.
where did you grow up at exactly? Because I don't know that.
I grew up in between New York and Michigan on Riley, which is just west of Emerson.
Yeah, you was telling me earlier your mom was actually the president of Forest Man, or our community little
Community
league.
then, yes.
And you know I do a lot of youth baseball, so
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know, you were talking last podcast about all the parents and stuff.
Yeah, the
and
Christian Park there.
Right, and you did all. But you know what? You got to look at, you donate a lot. And Doug does that working at the parks and the
Banker's Life and
Banker's Life and the racetrack for these kids. And
Yeah.
you two should be on there too.
Well,
on
I
that
think
list
Bobby
for
was
now.
Bobby's example last week
Right, it
was
was-
partly because now we understand. You know, when you're
Right.
a kid, you don't realize how much work is going on behind the scenes for you to do things. Now that we're older and we're the people behind the scenes, especially Bobby,
You can
he realized
appreciate
how
it.
many out. Yeah, he really appreciate now. That's
Oh,
a great
yeah, I
way to put
appreciate-
it, Mike.
People like your mom, my
Right.
hat's off to.
Yes.
But boy, I was also thinking, you know, man, back when I first met you, came over your house and we went down some stairs and there was a room.
Rec
I
room.
looked at Doug. I said, man, who's all those? He goes, well, that's Boyd's sister and his. Taekwondo,
No, it was judo.
judo.
yeah.
And your sister was like a state champ.
Oh yeah, she was. I think she became a second-degree black belt before she gave it up. She was really good. She used to usually fight against a girl that ended up being an Olympian in judo for the U.S. and would beat. They were best friends, and they would one tournament. Her name was Margaret. Margaret would win. Another tournament, Tammy would win. They went back and forth, but they were best buddies off. They're still friends to this day, and they were.
Now,
both
you did fairly well, too.
badass. Yeah, I was pretty good too. I won the state when I was 9, but I ended up quitting I was probably 10 or 11.
Well,
I
you-
just had too much.
You know,
going
last
on.
podcast we talked obviously quite a bit about Christian Park. That's what the topic was, and you got brought up, and I was like, yeah, he's one of ours, even though he didn't play all the time with us. But what amazed me was getting to know you and knowing you now, just how well versed you are, and you know, as we kind of hook back up later in life, I couldn't believe once we started talking again how much knowledge you had about hitting. You know, because I didn't know you as a baseball player or anything like that. But, man, my hat's off to you, too, because, I mean, I learned quite a bit off of you, believe it or not, and appreciate you bringing some of our kids up from RBI and letting them hang out. You had those national girls in there, man. Who were they? They were good.
It was called the package deal. It was there was 4 girls, former college players. Some of them you see them on ESPN now, like being commentating, and they were just getting started. Where they went around the nation, ended up going around like the world and traveling and having these like clinics where kids could come in and they'd work on catching, throwing, hitting, and I met them when I had Hit Factory in Noblesville, and I think we were only like their third time that they did this, and they did hundreds, if not, 300 or 400 maybe after us. So they were just beginning that, and I met them, and they were incredible, and we had a great time with them. The kids learned a bunch, and it made these girls fall in love with softball.
Now, you had a daughter that did. I mean, you had some kids. You had 3 kids.
My daughter Sammy.
But she was really played for Hamilton Southeastern.
She played for Hamilton Southeastern for 3 years, and then we moved. We built a house in Noblesville. We gave her the option. We can go back to HSE if you want, or you can go to Noblesville. And we had a lot of friends in Noblesville, and a lot of girls that played for me travel ball at Noblesville, and she knew them, so she felt comfortable. So she spent her senior year there.
I did a little research on Hamilton Southeastern, and I never knew how big they are nationally as far as how much success they've had there. And you just don't go there and play. You better be pretty good.
Yeah.
Sammy was a pitcher, but didn't pitch a whole lot at Hamilton Southeastern.
No, not much.
But
she did.
Your travel teams did real well, though.
Yeah, they did pretty well. I had
You're being modest.
well, they were good, but we weren't like national level. But you know what? It wasn't about that. It was about having these kids get better at a game they love, and you know. It was,
And you have a major passion for that, like I do.
oh yeah,
There's no doubt. I mean, I went up to Boyd, and I'm trying to check it out and see what Boyd's all about. And all of a sudden, Boyd pulls me over, and he's got cameras hooked up, and he starts talking to me about bat speed, and I'm like, he's above me here. He knows what time it is.
Yes.
I'm big into the bat speed. So, I mean, you got to have great form and stuff when you're swinging a bat, baseball or softball. But if you have great form and you don't swing it fast enough, you're not going to achieve your goals. So, I'm
Well, I'm
big
really
into
proud of you, Boyd, because I know you've affected a lot of lives up there. Anytime I talk to anybody about people from up in the Noblesville area, I'll ask them if they know Chris, and then I'll come back and ask them, and all of them know you. I mean, all of them, like, what Boyd's been doing his homework. Boyd's been putting a lot of time in, so.
There's a lot of great instructors up in that area. Back in 2017, I got in a car crash, head-on collision. So I had a bunch of students, and so I reached out to some of my buddies that are really good. Jim Wardell, JW Hitting. I advised them, call him up. Carl Willis, another guy, he actually coaches at Tipton now, said, you know, go to these guys. You know, I'm going to be out of commission for a while. These guys do it right. You're gonna get great instruction. They're great people, and a lot of them did that. And
Now, Slab helped you for a little while, didn't he?
In depth to them.
Slab helped you for a little while?
Yeah, he did. He was at Hit Factory too, and
Was he?
Scott was man. You never see Scott without a smile.
No, you don't.
Not without a smile and a
Fisher's
story.
finest.
Yes, he's a good person. Great person.
You ever heard if you don't get a hold of him, what it says on his answering machine? I mean, I have a living here, but basically I'm in Fisher's protecting one of the top. I'm like, oh, gosh. Barney Fife.
Hey, Scott was a pretty good athlete too. When he came back from being in the Army,
Yes.
he was dunking at Fosnot's.
Really?
Oh yeah, and Fosnot's rim was like 10-3, 10-4. Yeah, he was skinny and like had ups. I think he had boots on when he did it. I'm like,
Really?
holy crap, yeah.
Mikey V, Doug was telling me when we was talking one day last week, we just talking and we was talking about you, but he was telling me the story about if you don't care what you tell it, when we went out to that lake or that diving
Oh, we
place.
went to St. Paul?
And you didn't know that much about him.
Well, I knew he dove, but I didn't realize he dove. You know what I mean? How good he was. So we all went to that area where you
That top area.
top area and you walk out on that little plank-like deal.
You're like 40 feet in
And
the
you're
air.
way up there, right? So there's me, Mike, and I think Susie, maybe Penny. A couple of those were probably with us. And we're having a good time out there, and so I'm there trying to get my guts up, right? To just run off this thing and just say, all right, I'm not a coward. That's what I'm trying to do, right? So Mike's like, well, I'll go. I said, have at it, player. You go. Man, he gets out there, dude, and he takes a couple little steps, and he does like a pike and just flips backwards. And when if he would have been in high school, if he did that in high school, I would have had to give him a 10. I mean,
I would have taken it.
Right, because he comes back out and it's perfect. It's the perfect dive. And I was like, man, that was damn good. Who's next?
How much
I
did
can't
you,
follow that.
how much did you dive, Mike?
I
Did you dive for
dove-
Hal?
I dove for Howe. I dove for my Vincennes University.
Oh,
Got a little
really?
scholarship. And
I didn't know
dove
that.
AAU since I was like 5 year round.
So that was
I
your
dove
thing
year
there,
round.
huh?
Yes, that's what I did after baseball. That's kind of what I took up. And
We was talking to Jay right before we got started here, and I was telling him about your kind of when you got out of high school and you and Doug was running around, you guys were living together. Boy was telling me about some serious volleyball. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
used to
But
we used to play 3-on-3
you
in the backyard.
you had some pretty nice locations downtown to a lot of, like you was telling me Ron Artest would come in there. And
I had
What was the name of 'em again?
Bar. It's called the Club Level or the Vault. It depends if we were in trouble or not. We changed our name. But the city didn't like me that much.
God.
But
That's
yeah, Artest would come in and he always wanted in for free. I'm like, all right, you can come in free. But those guys with you, you got to pay $25-$30 each for them. And he'd stay up in the DJ booth. So I went next door one night, and then he cashed out, and he didn't leave a tip, and he spent like $250 or something like that. Well, he didn't leave a tip, so he came in 2 weeks later. So I said, whenever he comes in there, put yourself a 20% tip on that before you cash him out. He don't have to worry about leaving you guys a tip. We'll just put it on there.
That's cool.
I don't blame you.
That's cool.
Harlem Globetrotters, every time they were in town, they'd come down and see us.
I remember when we was back in high school that South Side was a big deal. Go down to South Side, try to get noticed. Me and you're down there one night, and they're bumper to bumper. And they're hanging out of the cars and everything. And some girls come cruising through there real slow, and I'm going, hey, come here for a minute. Hey, come here. They turn around, Doug looks at me and goes, that works? I said, well, it's working right now for some reason.
I got one for you on that, though. So me and Doug used to go down there, and my wife don't even let me drive. She don't like me driving. So if that gives you any idea. So I drove a Corvette. My dad let me drive his Corvette or his 59 Triumph.
63 bit? 64? It was
convertible.
Sweet.
And I could smoke the tires because it was a stick shift. But I'd be coming up to a stoplight, and Doug goes, you might want to stop. You want to stop. There's red lights in front of you. No matter how much, he never got to relax unless I pulled over.
Mike was always paying more attention
I'm
to
looking
everything
around.
going around
Right.
than pointing out people. And I'm like, dude, you're driving. Now I'm kind of driving without the wheel. You know, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Hey, there's a Bart. There's Penny. Let's pull in there when you get a chance.
Yeah.
Mike's just he's looking around like
It,
that.
it was overwhelming. To
Oh,
all
it
the
was,
people
it was
that were down
fun
there.
to go down there, man. They used to go through Garfield
There was a
Park.
time we drove through Steak and Shake on the south side. We pull in there, and we go real. Doug's driving. I'm looking. I see his sister, her boyfriend, all kinds of people. We go all the way around it. We start to head out, and he's getting ready to turn back on Madison. I'm like, dude, how come you didn't pull over? He goes, I didn't see anybody we knew. I go, I started naming people, and I said, I think your mom and dad were there. He starts laughing so hard that we're out on Madison, and he like stops, and we're not going anywhere. He's laughing so hard. I'm like, man, you better drive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was some good times on the south side.
Yeah, we did.
Go ahead.
I was at a stoplight. We were at a stoplight. I think you were with me then.
Yes.
And this car's wanting to race me. So I'm revving up the motor. Light hits green. That car takes off. That rear end slides sideways. I whip it back around. I spin all the way around, or did 180, slid up into this car, was blocking this entrance to another car lot, right next to it, facing the wrong way. Dumped the clutch, pulled out, because all the other cars, I was way in front of them, and I whipped it back around and went and parked. I had to wipe the poop out of my pants for a good 2 hours. Doug was like, you ain't driving no more. We're just sitting here.
Just sat here for a while.
I got to tell this house story real quick. So, me and a couple of my tech buddies, Jerry Frost, Russell Rebenak.
Jerry Frost was a hell of a ball player.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap.
He could, yeah. He should have showed some of that ability, and he had it in high school. And Jerry's real reserved, but yeah, you're right. I mean, he just wow.
We used to get teams up and play your Tech boys against the Howe boys, and you guys whipped our butt probably 75% of the time. And we couldn't stop Jerry Frost. He would drive down the lane, and he'd either lay it up or hit a guy. It seemed like he hung in the air forever and always did the right thing, either shoot it or pass it.
Yeah,
and he was frustrating to guard.
You know, when I played with him in high school, he was a junior, I was a senior. He should have been playing short. I was playing second, but he played third. But, yeah, I agree with you. He's just phenomenal. But we go to this Howe party. It's a Weaver party. Imagine that.
Over on Terrace?
No, it was over
On Grant?
Riley area or
Yeah.
over there when they
Yeah.
lived over there, not too far from Kenny Montgomery.
Was there
Yeah.
snow on the ground?
Yes.
Remember that?
So we walk in, and we're getting well because I got a relationship with everybody from Howe. Grew up with them, Christian Park, and everything's cool. I'm like, man, we got to go to this Howe party. So we walk in, and we get automatic. Me and Jimmy Stevenson still laughs about this today. Jimmy comes up first thing, hey, what's up? I'm introducing them and everything. But after I introduced Jerry and Russell, you know, he gives me 5, and he's going down and give Jerry. Well, I walk on into the kitchen. I'm ready to see who's all here because it's packed, and it's a howl party. I'm walking in the kitchen and I'm hanging out. And no more than I get in there, man. Stevenson comes running in there. Haney, your boy. And I'm like, what's going on, Jim? He goes, you threw up all over me. I said, what? And I looked down. Russell just walks in the room. I said, Russell, you throw up on him? He goes, nope. I said, well, he didn't throw up on you. He goes, he's fucking lying. I said, well, okay, cool. I said, and everybody starts getting a little riled. I'm like, oh, shit. So I said, okay, well, we're gone. We're out of here. You better get him out of here. So we get halfway down the street. Me and Frost up front. Russell's in the back. And I look back at Russell. I said, Russell. I said, you throw up on that dude? He goes, yeah. I said, why didn't you tell me? He goes, hey, I'm not going to tell you that in the middle of that party. All them howl guys, everybody got killed. I said, good point.
You're talking about a Weaver party. Well, I'm with Mr. Jones, and we're arriving late. And I'm in my Cutlass Supreme, and I have one of them plug in into the lighter lights. It's real bright. So I go, watch this. I put it out the window, right where a police officer's light would be. And we pulled up out front, and I ran that thing across the window. And then we parked and went in. Everybody piled out the back into the snow.
Yeah, you don't see anybody in
We
the
walk
house.
in, there's